Iceberg videos. How does that make you feel? Good. Thanks for your answer. It's duly noted and appreciated. So, you clicked on this video to see some guy talk about unsolved mysteries, and by God, I will be talking about unsolved mysteries. You might be wondering what kind of mysteries. Are we about to find out why I can't have a mortgage? Why my exes the way they are about love? Why the economy's like that? No, we're not about to find out any of that shit. Like it says on the label, all of these mysteries are unsolved, baby, and they're all pretty irreverent to your life. So if you just want to occupy yourself for however much time this video winds up being while you do the dishes or fold your laundry or something like that, I'm here for you. I got you, baby. Now that I've made it weird and I've wasted enough time with my intro, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So how's this gonna work? Easy. I'm gonna talk about mysteries. Alright, up first we've got Agent 355. Now, Agent 355 might sound like the name of a Hollywood blockbuster thriller movie that you forget in 3 months and review bomb on Letterboxd, but it is actually the codename of a supposed American woman during the American Revolutionary War. See, during the American Revolutionary War, a bunch of peasants with shit from 4 generations ago in terms of weapons went against the largest imperial power of the world, and somehow they won. And that was because past a certain point, old beloved Georgie Washington decided that, maybe we don't need to do this whole European honor, because we didn't. So he started doing things like ambushing people and trying to set up spy rings. Now, the first spy ring that is set up by American forces, kaput, dead. The second spy ring, but they get it right when they set up the Culper's ring. Now, the Culper's ring is a group of spies in New York, which is occupied by British forces at the time and very loyalist, and all of the big movers and shakers are there. It is basically a place where powerful people meet and decide to do things. So this is a perfect place for a spy ring. And the Culper's ring starts relaying information to George Washington and is instrumental to the success of the American Revolutionary War, because 3% of a group of peasants across the ocean who lived in all these colonies decided that they wanted to fight, let me restate, the biggest imperial power of all time. Now, where it gets interesting and where the mystery is brought in is we know a lot of who was in the Culper's ring because it was all documented, because they had to write shit down and send it to George Washington. Agent 355 is a woman who is mentioned exactly once in all of this correspondence. There's not any other mention of this Agent 355. There's no name for Agent 355. There's no nothing. So we hear her mentioned exactly once and then never again. Now, America has a culture of tall tales and of folklore, and it's really interesting to study, and it's really interesting to see in effect, because at first glance it looks like, well, we just don't know who Agent 355 is, but when you dig a little deeper, you find out that I don't know if Agent 355 is real at all. See, if you ask the Smithsonian Institute, hey, what do you think of Agent 355? Their website will tell you that it seems like a load of horseshit. It seems like a tall tale. If you go to Wikipedia, you'll see a very different story, that Agent 355 was indispensable to the American Revolutionary effort. But the simple fact of the matter is, when you go down and read the sources that are all displayed at the bottom of Wikipedia, we see stuff from Fox News, and a guy who wrote a book by the name of Don Yeager. So maybe not as ironclad and foolproof as you might have initially thought. Always check your sources, kids. Did 355 exist? I don't know. I mean, there's some pretty compelling arguments out there because scholars do love to bicker. So some of the things that we hear in favor or against 355 existing is, oh, we know who it is. Her name is Anna Strong, or it was Robert Townsend's wife and secret lover who died imprisoned on a ship in New Jersey. What I will tell you for a certainty, though, is that this was shit that happened going on 3 centuries ago. And it is very hard to discern tall tale from reality after that point, so come to your own conclusions, but take what you read with maybe more than a grain of salt. Up next, we have the Alexandra Palace's TV demonstrations. This is a little bit of lost media here for you. Now, you might be wondering, what the fuck is the Alexandra Palace, unless you're from the UK, in which case, I'm gonna get you. During World War II, Britain had a problem. You see, the BBC, not Big Black Cock, was active, it was functioning, and it was broadcasting television everywhere. But that was an issue because the Germans could possibly exploit this and use the signals to better bomb places, use it for strategy, use it for evil. So in 1939, the BBC ceased all operations, and for the next 7 years, the average British person lived without television. There was just nothing to be had. With the exception of the Alexandra Palace demonstrations, which are recorded, televised demonstrations against war featuring a lot of celebrities. The problem is, I lied when I said they were recorded. They were not recorded. And as a result, we don't have any footage of them. We've never found any footage of them, and we only know they happened because there's dedicated people to television history at Alexandra Palace, which is a little odd, but hey, more power to them. You might be wondering, are you not wearing a shirt, another pen? No. Alright, so up next we have the Anjing Ajak, which is a cryptid that supposedly lives on the island of Java. It's basically a Javan werewolf. The issue is, there's not technically wolves on the Java island. There's the dhole, which is an Asiatic wild dog, and honestly, that little motherfucker seemed chill like that. But the Anjing Ajak is really hard to find information about. So far, in about 30 minutes of searching, the only 2 web pages I've been able to find that have anything about the Anjing Ajak are a Reddit page of a very interestingly anthropomorphic rendition, bordering on me questioning whether or not the artist is a furry, which, hey, more power to them. And the Cryptids with a Z wiki, which is it is a real place online. The information there, maybe not so real. Now, with all of the mysteries that I see on this iceberg, and in general, I try to find a little list, why doesn't it exist? Why could it exist? Why is it possible? I try to consider things very fairly. So, know that it is not common for me to just go, this seems maybe a little full of shit, but this seems maybe a little full of shit. No sightings that I can find, not a lot of folklore, just a Indonesian phrase that mostly brings me to articles about wild dogs. I mean, the state of the internet in 2025 it's bad, but it's very rare that I can't find any information, so make of that what you will. The Anjing Ajak, Javan werewolf. Babushka lady. You know it's getting late in the night when you're researching, when the JFK assassination gets brought up. That's what we're getting into. The Babushka lady is an unidentified individual seen during the JFK assassination holding a camera. She appears to be wearing a headscarf, hence the whole name of Babushka lady, because Russian and Eastern European old elderly women wear headscarves like that. Where it gets interesting is in trying to find out who this woman was, what happened to the film that she had, because she did have a camera, right? Now, from Wikipedia, and seemingly this page is trustworthy, unlike some of the other Wikipedia pages we've encountered on our little journey here. A woman comes forward by the name of Beverly Oliver, and she claims to be the Babushka Lady. She claims that she got a experimental camera from a friend that she didn't know the brand name of, and she recorded all of it, and then two dudes who were dressed up as FBI agents show up at her house a few days later, take the undeveloped film. She has some weed on her, so she is afraid because, this is America when JFK was around. We're talking about weed is a big no-no for whatever weird fucking reason. Well, actually, I know the reason. Racism. We'll get into that in a later video. So, she has weed on her, she hands over the film, and apparently never follows up on what happened to her camera film. She then meets conspiracy researcher Gary Shaw at a church and goes, "Oh yeah, I'm the Babushka Lady. I was there." With no evidence. Now, this is in the 70s. There's still, a lot of delegations and board meetings and confrontations that the public can have with the government about the JFK assassination. And in March of 1979, the United States House Select Committee on Assassinations indicated that they were unable to locate any film associated with a so-called Babushka Lady, which means that the FBI didn't take that film. Otherwise it'd be in the documentation. Unless something is amiss. Where it gets more interesting is that in 1994 there is a public hearings of the Assassination Records Review Board. I had to look down at my laptop to read all of that. And a assassination researcher by the name of Gary Mack, who's been digging up loose leads and unturning new ends, finds out from a Kodiak executive that they did receive some film from a brunette woman in her mid-30s who matches a description of the Babushka Lady while they were processing the Zapruder film, which, if you know about the JFK assassination or about film, you know about the Zapruder film. We're not going to get into that can of worms. Basically, it's like the video where JFK gets shot. Obviously, the Kodiak executives are more worried about that film when they get the other film, and when they do get to that other film, they don't find anything meaningful. But Gary Mack then uses this information to deny that Beverly Oliver is the Babushka Lady, because someone matching that woman's description with no weird shady FBI involvement turned in some film. So he doesn't say it's impossible for Beverly Oliver to be the Babushka Lady, but he does say that if she is the Babushka Lady, the rest of her story is bullshit, which honestly sounds pretty reasonable to me, sounds pretty fair. So the question then becomes, who is Babushka Lady? What was she doing there? And the honest answer is she was probably just some random person who just happened to be there when JFK got shot. I don't think there was anything malevolent to one lady in a headscarf. What I think about the rest of the JFK assassination, I'm not educated enough to throw out an opinion, so I'm not gonna, but Wendigoon has some good videos about that, I think. On TikTok, you'll often see comments where people are like, scrolling feels like divorce. Man, shut the fuck up. You don't know what divorce feels like. I'll tell you what divorce feels like. Divorce feels like spending Christmas week in a bender and then hitting up your ex and having stunningly good sex that you feel weirdly gross about for the rest of the week. Up next, we've got Beowulf. See, you've probably heard that name before. What you don't know is that it's actually lost media. See, Beowulf is ancient. It's one of the oldest recorded surviving stories. It was written sometime in the 8th century AD. And that means that, it's a casual, let me do the mental math, like 1200 years old, which is pretty ancient. Pretty ancient indeed. And as a result, we don't have the full poem anymore. We know the plot, and we know that it's super important because we have a lot of people from that time going, "Holy fucking shit, this is the coolest thing ever!" but we do not have the full poem. And at this point, I think it's doubtful that we'll find it. And if we did find it, we'd have a very hard time proving it, because what we would probably find would be a later recorded full rendition of the poem rather than an original manuscript of the poem from the 8th century, because paper lasts like 3 centuries and then it's done. Then it's out. And it's been a lot more than 3 centuries. So yeah, Beowulf, the poem where the dude is a badass and he's not a werewolf, but he's named like one, and he goes and he fucking beats the shit out of Grendel and then goes and finds Grendel's mother underwater and beats the shit out of her. Yeah, that story actually lost media. Bet you didn't know that. I didn't know that until just now. Bermeja. Alright, so Bermeja is a purported island. It was discovered somewhere between the 16th to the 18th century, just north of the Yucatan Peninsula, and it was on maps for a very long time. I'm using past tense here because in 1996, when conducting a survey, the Mexican government couldn't find the island, which is a little strange. It's a little weird. There's supposed to be an island there. Maps for like 4 centuries have been saying there's an island there. Where is the island? Where'd you put it, Mexico? Later in 2008, the island became a conversational topic again, because if the island did exist, it would be very important for establishing economic boundaries, which would be very important for oil drilling, because, we have to dig up the dead dinosaurs and fuck everything up. Think of the rich people's yacht money. So, big hubbub. Where the fuck is Isla Bermeja? Right? Where is it? Where did it go? So there's a few different theories out there, ranging from the island didn't exist. This is the most likely one. In the 16th century, people were confused. You just threw some person on a boat for better part of a year, sometimes years, and you just told them to draw shit. Stuff got weird sometimes. I mean, if you read Christopher Columbus's diaries, it gets strange. I think that man fucked a manatee. So, it's not very far out of the realm of possibility that a cartographer who's been on a boat for years and is losing his mind drew an island where there wasn't an island, and then the next cartographer looked at the old cartographer's map and was like, oh, hey, there's an island there. I'm going to record this island too, so that way the map is accurate. And then they just did that for a few centuries. This has happened before. This is a common occurrence. It's called phantom islets, and it's discovered with not relative frequency, but relative enough that there's a phrase in a Wikipedia page and writing about it. This isn't an uncommon thing we're talking about here. But that's the most probable theory. Let's talk about some of the more improbable ones, like sea levels rising, obliterating the island. Sea levels have not risen significantly over the last few centuries. They're going to rise significantly over the next few centuries, but the last few, not a lot of rising. So it's pretty, unless the island was barely existing when it was recorded, it's not very likely that it got submerged under the waves. And you would still be able to see a landmass where the island is supposed to be. It would just be underwater now, so not very likely. My favorite theory that I stumbled across while researching, though, is that the CIA destroyed the island to expand America's economic zone. This is a personal favorite of mine. I don't think it's what happened, but I do think it could have happened. If you told me right now that the CIA fucking blew up an island so that America could have some more oil, I would believe you. That's something the CIA would do. I'm a little disappointed the CIA didn't do it. Okay, so up next is a name you have definitely heard before, unless you live under a rock or you're 12, in which case I'm about to blow your goddamn mind. We're talking about Bigfoot. What is Bigfoot? Bigfoot is essentially a cryptid that is a giant, hairy hominid creature lurking in the forest. What is Bigfoot's intentions? Lurking in the forest. What does Bigfoot get out of this? Lurking in the forest. So, Bigfoot has been cited in some form or another basically for centuries. You know, Bigfoot as a name is a Anglosphere thing. You know, white folk came up with that in the 60s, and then they started marketing it. Personally, I think he should be named Big Freak. And instead of having big feet, he should have a big cock. Now, Bigfoot in different names, but same concept, giant monkey in the woods, has been being cited in the Americas since recorded folklore and history. You know, most Native American tribes in America have a Bigfoot story. They have different names for it. They have different interpretations on what Bigfoot is, what Bigfoot's doing. I think that their stories are way cooler than the shit we've come up with, but Bigfoot as a story has been out there for a while. Now, Bigfoot as a reality, I don't think Bigfoot is as impossible as some people would like to tell you he is, but I similarly don't think Bigfoot exists. And let me give you my little opinion, because I'm the expert here, right? No, I'm not. I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy holding a $40 microphone, speaking to a camera in a bedroom. So take my opinion however you want to. Is it impossible for an apex predator to be inhabiting an environmental niche that we have thus far not discovered? It's not impossible, but it doesn't seem likely. All right. What I will say, though, is I work outdoors for half the year. So for half of the year, I am far-flung in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of tools, building trails or maintaining trails. And you don't see a lot of signs of apex predators, you know? I spent half of last year outdoors, and I encountered bears 4 times, and that is the apex predator there. And I encountered those bears not because, you know, one time was because I was trying to take a shit and the bear had a similar shitting spot, and that was terrifying. The rest of it was because the bears like eating rich people's trash. So it's not impossible for an apex predator to go phantom mode like that and just never be seen. It's just not very likely. Where I start to believe that Bigfoot is not a thing is when people get conspiratorial with it. Like, there's an idea out there that the federal government is hiding a giant monkey from you, and that's just not true. Having worked with the federal government, which is how I am outside for half of the year, I can tell you that they're utterly fucking inept. There is no goddamn way the Forest Service could ever cover up Bigfoot, alright? There's not enough brain power in the Ranger District buildings to hide Bigfoot. Actually, I lied. There is. There's too much paperwork involved with covering up Bigfoot. No goddamn way the government could cover up Bigfoot. Those idiots could not cover that shit up for the life of them, alright? And you see a lot of conspiracies like that. Oh, the government don't want us to know Bigfoot's out there. No, the government is too fucking stupid to tie its own shoelaces. Okay, they can't hide the monkey from you. The monkey is hiding from you if the monkey is out there. Do you pick up what I'm throwing down? Do you understand what I'm saying? I really hope you do. Basically, Bigfoot is an unsolved mystery because there's been a lot of sightings of Bigfoot and a lot of people being like, there's a monkey out there! Some people have gone so far as to even say they have been fucked by the monkey in the woods. Actual thing. But we've never found anything concrete stating, yes, there is a monkey in the woods, alright? I actually made a video on some of the evidence for a monkey in the woods, the Sierra Camp tapes. This is like the holy grail of Bigfoot evidence right there. You tell a Bigfoot truther I don't believe, they'll go, Sierra Camp tapes say otherwise, liberal. Here's the thing. The Sierra Camp tapes, very shaky. The photos of Bigfoot, that could be anything. That could be a proto-furry right there. Do you see that fucking grainy-ass photo? You're gonna tell me for a certainty that that is a monkey in the woods? I tell you, that might be a gay furry, alright? And it's a lot of many such cases with Bigfoot where someone will be like, there's this thing that's slight circumstantial evidence, and then you look into it and it just doesn't hold up. So the premise of Bigfoot, giant monkey in the North American woods, that's pretty cool. I like that. The reality of Bigfoot, probably not, okay? Because if we think about the logistics of giant monkey in the North American woods, it starts to get a little shaky. And then when you think about the evidence for giant monkey in the North American woods, it goes from shaky to just not believable. That being said, it's not impossible, so I'm not going to be like, Bigfoot for sure don't exist. I'm just going to say that it's really not likely. Up next on the iceberg, we've got camera heads, which is denoted as lost media, but it's not lost media anymore. I'm still going to talk about it, though, because I'm going to talk about everything. Just you wait. Anyway, so you probably know what a camera head is. Depending on your age, you've either seen it in a Steam indie horror game or in a Skibbity Toilet episode, so it's one of these guys somewhere on screen. And they're vaguely Geiger-esque. They're pretty scary, pretty spooky. I mean, it's a human body with a camera on top of it. That's fucked up, right? You wouldn't want to see that in the woods. And the Lost creepypasta basically goes as follows. Some dude's hiking in the woods and he sees signs of a struggle in an envelope with a note that's written in charcoal in it that's like, I killed a camera head, and a cassette tape. And then the guy uploads the video to YouTube and then vanishes, and there's just a video of camera heads on YouTube. And it took a while for all of this creepypasta to be found and to be intact. While it was missing, some people were thinking like, oh my god, this is a huge, serious ARG that the creator put so much work into, and it's going to be like House of Leaves, which is a mindfuck of a book if you've never read it. That did not happen, but it is still a pretty neat story regardless, and it is always very cool to see the power of the internet when people come together to find media. And when they successfully find media, we have that media. So, boom, camera head. We've got that now. Whale pussy secretions. That's not going to be as unique of a chain of words as what's about to come out of my mouth. The actual thing we're talking about today is the Cannibal Holocaust piranha scene. These three words should not be connected to each other, but they are. And shout out to the creator of Cannibal Holocaust for having the creative vision necessary to chain these words together. So what is this that we're talking about here? This is an article that is tagged "Not Safe for Life" by the Lost Media Wiki. It's honestly pretty tame. So basically there's this movie Cannibal Holocaust, which I think just saying the name is going to get me demonetized, so please pray for me. But it was a very controversial Italian film made in the 80s. Basically, it was one of the first films ever to utilize the found footage format. It was very gory. It had a list of things that will go somewhere on screen that were not okay portrayed in it. It was real horror, you know, and people were real horrified by it, so it got banned in several countries, and there's this whole little air of legend around the film now. And the piranha scene is a lost scene from the film where someone is lowered into the water and eaten alive by piranhas. Now, obviously, no one actually died during the shooting of this, contrary to what many courts in the 80s thought, but it is still pretty gory. Unfortunately for horror enthusiasts and attorneys in the 80s who wanted to arrest the director of this film, the footage of the guy getting, eaten alive by the piranhas did not survive, and the camera was malfunctioning and the piranhas were hard to manage, so the scene was ultimately cut from the film. There's been some claims that, the piranha scene was included in the lost foreign video releases. Totally. And those have so far been full of shit, and it's just not out there. There's no surviving footage that we know of. We do have a still from the scene that will be put on camera, that will be put on screen now. And that's about it. That's about all we got. Now, honestly, does this media need to be found? I mean, does any media need to be found? No, but if it wasn't for the fact that this movie was just super gory in the 80s, I don't think anyone would really care. And that isn't to be dismissive of this piece of film history any more than I might initially seem. But it is to say that this is a unique one because I think it has this level of infamy due to the media it's attached to. Which is, yeah, thanks, Captain Fucking Obvious, but it's interesting to think about and look at, so. Alright, up next we've got celebrity number 6, and keeping with our lost media posts so far, this one has also been solved, so here's the whole beans with celebrity number 6. Basically, someone posted to Reddit their grandma's curtains that had celebrities on them, and were like, hey guys, I wonder who are all the celebrities on my grandma's curtains. Weird setup to a mystery, but that is the setup we had. And Reddit quickly identifies 7 of the 8 celebrities on the curtains. But the 6th celebrity to appear on the curtains, they can't find for the life of them. Alright, this woman is just a phantom. She's a mystery. So this spawns a years-long search involving getting every single photo Getty Images had ever taken from 1900 to 2024, and parsing through them, asking AI to generate celebrity number 6 as an image, and then trying to reverse image search it, finding women who looked like celebrity number 6, and creating boards on Pinterest to force Pinterest's algorithm to give them similar content in the hopes that they would somehow find celebrity number 6, and a lot of other wackadoodle stuff. Now, this sounds like a Kylie Bogley video right here, and if it isn't already, it should be, and if you don't know who Kylie Bogley is, you should go check her out. Great stuff on YouTube. Love the work. So, after the AI and the Pinterest, they also go so far as to track down the Finnish home goods store that the fabric that made the curtains was bought from, and then using the defunct Finnish home goods store's supply chain, to track down a man in the Czech Republic who had sourced the fabric. And then they find this guy, and they're like, guy, can you please tell us who's on the curtains? Like, who made this print? And he just goes, no. Feeling crushed and defeated, someone then takes to LinkedIn, where they find an old Spanish photographer who had taken the photo of celebrity number 6 and was a little annoyed that the photo of celebrity number 6 was being used without his permission on some curtains. And then, of course, once we get that, they go, oh, who did you take the picture of? And the guy goes, oh, I took a picture of this model. The woman's name is Letitia Sarda. Now, in comparison to some other stars on the curtains, like Orlando Bloom or Adriana Lima, Letitia Sarda is a pretty small name. She's a pretty small fish, but she was put on those curtains, and like 50,000 people were trying to figure out who the hell she was. So obviously there was some hubbub, there was a Wired article, there was all of this stuff. And funnily enough, the Redditor who initially made the connection at first, when he was like, I found it, the other Redditors were like, you just generated that with AI. And it was this whole little controversy within the lost media world of whether or not AI had aided or hindered the investigation. But regardless, they did, after going to everywhere, including Spanish LinkedIn, find Letitia Sarda, and now we know who celebrity number 6 on those curtains is. So there you have it. Mystery solved. This is a pretty neat one. We've been having too much fun, which is why up next we're going to be talking about the Charles Peck phone calls. So, basically, on September 12th, 2008 at 4:22 p.m. in California, a passenger train collided with a freight train going 83 miles an hour. The engineers on the freight train had foolishly decided to run a red light, and as a result, they killed 25 people and injured 135 people. One of these people that was on this train was a man by the name of Charles Peck. Charles Peck was traveling by train to SoCal to try and get a job in California because him and his fiancée wanted to live in the same state when they married. Charles had formerly lived in Salt Lake, Utah, where he had an ex-wife and 3 kids, and the dude was, the dude had a family, he had a life, he had all the bells and whistles that you would have at age 49. Right, and he was trying to better his life and continue it. And then he gets into this train accident. Now, he's not recovered initially, which is not a good look. It's not a good sign. He's in the front of the train, too, where, the trains collided, which is also not a good sign. But what is a good sign is that Charles keeps calling his loved ones, his stepmother, his sister, his son, his fiancé. He's calling them repeatedly. The problem is, when they answer, there's nothing but static, and when they try to call back, the phone goes straight to voicemail. This is 2008, so this isn't one of those little nice, fancy smartphones. No, this is like a piece of shit flip phone. But the fact that Charles is making these calls inspires hope in his family and inspires hope in the first responders who continue looking for Charles. And for about 10 hours after the accident, these calls are non-stop to the family until finally, about an hour before Charles is found, the phone dies. When Charles finally is found, somewhere around 3 a.m. in the morning, almost 12 hours after the wreckage, he is dead. And he has been dead. The injuries that Charles had, according to first responders, show that he died immediately upon impact. He was not buckled in, he was standing up. He was dead. Deader than a doornail. Had been for a minute. And what is weird, too, is that they never find Charles's phone. So, somehow, Charles loses his phone upon his death on impact, and then the phone just continuously makes calls to all of Charles's loved ones. So, let's go ahead and go through some possible theories on what this is, starting from most possible to least possible. The most possible theory that I could come up with would be that when the accident happened, Charles dies, loses his phone, maybe the phone goes out the window. Maybe someone tries to make calls to Charles's loved ones to try and contact somebody about this, and the microphone is just too damaged. Except for the fact that the microphone on these old flip phones being damaged, but the phone still being able to make calls, is pretty hard to achieve unless you drop it in water. So this one does have its own holes, and also someone would have to come forward and step up and be like, "Hey, I took the phone," which is already an unlikely thing for them to do. It's just not very likely. The next theory that we could come up with is that maybe it was a engineering problem. The phone is damaged in the wreck, and then it starts just randomly dialing numbers, except why does it dial the numbers of the people closest to Charles with no other correlation? I mean, maybe Charles had them on quick dial, maybe. There's a lot of maybes in all of these theories, and this story itself is uncanny because what most people immediately jump to is, sweet mother of pearl, this man was making calls from beyond the grave. And this is equally uncomfortable and comforting to think about because death is a terrifying concept. None of us know what comes after death. And a million Redditors and church officials will try to tell you one way or another, this happens after death, this happens after death, this doesn't happen after death. But at the end of the day, no one fucking knows, alright? Because no one has, truly died, been dead for a minute, and then come back. So, we don't know what comes after death. We don't know what happens when we perish. And thinking about that can make you a little uncomfortable. It makes me a little uncomfortable. Sometimes I get panic attacks about it, and that's on thanatophobia, baby. So, hearing this story, you immediately think of, calls beyond the grave, which is both really unnerving that this dude is dead, and yet somehow his loved ones are still receiving calls, and yet maybe comforting, because, this dude is dead, and maybe he just wanted to reach out one last time. Ultimately, what happened here, from a logical perspective, if we were to look at it, we would probably say that it is something like a software or a hardware glitch that led to all of these phone calls being made. This is possible. It's not likely, but it's possible, and what we're talking about is extraordinary here. So, extraordinary happenings require extraordinary evidence. Maybe our extraordinary evidence is an extraordinary software bug. Or it's, something not quite within our realm of understanding. And also, similarly, extraordinary and extraordinary happenings require extraordinary evidence, and what evidence do we have for what this story might at first most appear like? And the answer to that is none. So make of this story and my take on it whatever you will. Alright, kids. We did it. We made it through a whole video. It was probably somewhere between 30 to 45 minutes, and you were here that whole time. I'd like to thank you. If you're new here, go ahead and just press the subscribe button. It is clear that you liked what you saw or listened to. I like what I see, which is a camera, but on the other end of that camera is someone holding a phone or staring at a desktop or some other form of television screen. And I love to see people staring at screens. That's why I'm in this line of work. That's why I do it. It's all for the love of the game. Now, on a more serious note, longer-term fans may have noticed that, hey, this guy's uploading icebergs. I thought he said he wasn't going to do that. And I did say that I wasn't going to do that. And I'm doing it anyways, because I changed my mind. And also because icebergs get views. And I want to be a YouTuber, right? I want to be the very best like no one ever was. To catch them is my true test. Is it test or quest? Anyway, I want success. I don't want success. I need success. And if icebergs are the way that I get success, then so help me fucking God, I'll upload icebergs. So, after like a year of not uploading icebergs, basically, YouTube statistics are in, and YouTube was basically like, hey, you little fucking dipshit, where the fuck are the iceberg videos, huh? Huh? You want the algorithm to do anything for you? Where the fuck are the icebergs, man? And after that, I was like, okay, well, guess we're doing icebergs now. So that's that update. This is also, say your farewells, probably going to be the last video ever recorded in this bedroom. None of my roommates know that yet. I'm moving. Yay! Moving! It's so great! It's so great, and it doesn't make me want to fucking... So yeah, that's the new and other pen stuff. Happy New Year. I'm super happy to be back in 2025, and I cannot wait to go absolutely feral and just really start geeking. Learned a lot about myself these last few years, and learned that my ambition is a drive that cannot be satisfied until I get the kind of success I want. So, I'm making YouTube videos because I want to see my YouTube channel be successful, because I love making YouTube videos. And a more successful YouTube channel means more YouTube videos to make. And you can help with that journey. There's probably going to be some Patreon links that I set up sooner rather than later. I swear to God, I pinky promise I'm going to actually do something with Patreon this year. But that's all for now. I've rambled enough. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, for whatever. If you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you disliked the video, go ahead and leave a dislike. Tell me to die in the comments down below. If you didn't like the video, yes, leave a hate comment. Yes, you specifically, leave a hate comment. Thanks. And with that, have a great time. And until next time, memento mori.